Hey everybody, welcome to the morning devotion. We are in, the week of May 26th. We weren't in yesterday for Memorial Day. Hope you guys had a great day, but we are back for Genesis 28 on the devotion. My name's Beau, and these are my devotions that I air, and they're simply just reading the Bible. How about that? We read the Bible and we just bring up I just bring up kind of the obvious of what's there. So it's not crazy difficult if you know someone who's never gone through the Bible and maybe they're interested in going through the Bible, or you sense that someone in your family kind of doesn't want to go through the Bible because they kind of have misconceptions on the Bible. This might be a good podcast for them. I mean, I do come from a very strong progressive background. So if someone's a progressive and in a different kind of lifestyle, then this one might be a good podcast for them. They could actually go through the Bible. It's safe, right? I mean, it's online. There's no one coming at them. And they can just listen to the Bible in kind of just a simple breakdown format as well of what it's talking about. So, and help them understand it. Because everybody's going to have to make a decision at some point of how you're going to view it, how you're going to look at it. And I just love to let the Bible speak and let God touch hearts, right? I don't have to convince. I don't have to get angry. I don't have to try to, I can definitely persuade, but I'm not going to, I don't need to fight. I don't need to fight someone. I can just simply read the word and just tell them what it says and just kind of walk through it. But if you walk through it from Genesis to Revelation, boy, man, there is some really cool discoveries. The ones that blow your mind, that are super different than what you might have thought. Okay, so let's get into it. Genesis 28, I got my 2-hip sticker up from SoCal KLOS days. I don't know if you guys remember KLOS out in Southern California, but I grew up definitely listening to KMET, KLOS, and that was even before KROQ, K-Rock. And then a wonderful picture of my mom, my brother, and my mom, and hey, Mom, and Precious. She's with the Lord now, and I'm looking forward to that moment where we hang out again. Okay, so it says, so Isaac called for Jacob, blessed him, and said, "You must not marry any of these Canaanite women." Now, just so we know, Jacob is the promised child out of Jacob and Esau, the kids of Isaac. Now, we were kind of waiting. Is Isaac the promised child? Now, we've been waiting for a promised child now for quite a while, because we've been told very early on in the Bible, kind of page 3, that it was going to be a child from a woman, obviously, that's going to defeat the enemy. And so we're kind of that's the trajectory of the scriptures, is we're just waiting for this coming one, if you will, or what is called the Messiah, in Hebrew, Mashiach, anointed one, very special person. And now we're kind of at Jacob. We're Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. We're following that line. Notice we're not following the line of Ishmael. We've been told that Ishmael, the son of Hagar from Abraham, is going to be a nation as well, a vast nation. But they would be in contention with the descendants of the brother, Isaac, who is from Sarah. And so really the Bible's emphasis is on these lines, specifically the line of the Messiah that is going through Jacob. We saw in the last chapter, by the way, that Rebekah was pretty bent that Esau married these women that were Canaanites. That's the brother of Jacob. And so she's making sure that Jacob doesn't do the same thing. And so she gets with her husband, no doubt, and says, hey, we got to get Jacob uh, away from these Canaanite women. Sometimes a parent, that's what they're doing, right? Hey, you can't be hanging out with that person. It's going to lead you down the wrong path. It's interesting how intimate relationships can lead us down wrong paths. It's every teenager's kind of, I guess, downfall, where we get mixed up with someone maybe we shouldn't get mixed up with. And it leads us in a bad way, bad path, down the wrong road, so to speak. So it says, instead, go to Padan Aram, to the house of your grandfather Bethuel, and marry one of your uncle Laban's daughters. May God's Almighty bless you and give you many children, and may your descendants multiply and become many nations. May God pass on to you and your descendants the blessings he promised to Abraham. May you own this land where you now are living as a foreigner, for God gave this land to Abraham. Okay, so another reiteration that the land that is considered Israel today is something that is God-given. I don't know how much clearer you can get it, because it seems like it's reiterated from chapter 12 of Genesis all the way now we're at chapter 28. And it's just been this consistent theme that God says to Abraham, man, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to make you a great nation. All the world is going to be blessed through your seed, one seed through you. One specific person through you is going to bless the entire world, but you are going to have descendants all over the place, and you're going to be a great nation, and this land is yours. And by the way, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. And if you think that's just to Abraham that this is speaking, it also is reiterated to Isaac, the same exact thing. And now we see it going on to Jacob. The land is yours. The blessing is yours. It's in your line. You just can't get around this. The land of Israel is something that it's something that's a divine right. For God gave this land to Abraham, even though right now, Jacob, you're a foreigner in it. We might be a foreigner in a land, right? We've been given a promise. But we don't experience that promised land, right? That heaven right now. We're promised it, but we got to wait. And right now we're strangers. One day it says this earth will be ruled by this promised child, this Messiah. And one day it says we will rule and reign with him. But I don't see it. I just see a lot of chaos, constant inner chaos in human beings, and chaos just outside of us as well. So Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram to stay with his uncle Laban, his mother's brother, the son of Bethuel the Aramean. Esau knew that his father Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him to Padan Aram to find a wife. And it says, and that he had warned Jacob, you must not marry a Canaanite woman. He also knew that Jacob had obeyed his parents and gone to Padan Aram, and it was now very clear to Esau that his father did not like the local Canaanite women. This is great. It's great because, man, I could relate to this, and I think you can too, where, it becomes real clear that maybe your parents ain't digging your choices too much, right? Just maybe. It's coming to Esau's understanding that, hey, it seems like my parents don't like my decisions on who I've picked as a partner. And, have you ever felt that way? You picked a partner, but it's not someone your parents really are into. Well, this is certainly the way Esau felt, and it became very clear to him that, this wasn't what he was supposed to do according to his parents. And it says, so Esau visited his uncle Ishmael's family and married one of Ishmael's daughters, in addition to the wives he already had. His new wife name was Mahalath. She was the sister of Nebaioth and the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son. Okay. So Esau says, hey, you don't want me to marry a Canaanite? Okay, fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to marry one of Abraham's sons through the Egyptian Hagars, one of their descendants. And so that's what he does. He goes that direction. I don't know if Esau's trying to remedy things, trying to fix stuff. We all tend to be fixers. We all want to fix things, take care of matters, maybe get parents back on the right side, maybe try to please parents and do things to please parents. What was Esau's motivation, or was it more irritation? Was he say, fine, you don't want me to marry a Hittite woman? Fine, I'm going to go marry one of Ishmael's descendants. How about that? And was it that kind of attitude? Either way, the motivation just doesn't seem very good. It seems like it's very muddled, and there's a lot of just yuck in that. Sometimes when you try to please, it never works, right? If Esau is trying to please his parents, it's not like it's going to work, right? Sometimes you can't please parents. Maybe Esau should have just went to God and said, God, what do you want? What is it? Let me seek you. Let me seek, your face. Let me hear from you. Let me cry out to you. And let me be someone who lives to please you and not maybe other people, or because then I just get resentful and bitter, and then I do things out of resentment, and I'm going to get my parents. How am I going to get them? I'm going to get them by look who I'm with. How many people do that? How many people are in marriages not really because it's really a God move, but it's, they have resentment or bitterness or angry towards parents? I bet you that happens a lot. And it says, meanwhile, Jacob left Beersheba and traveled toward Haran. At sundown, he arrived at a good place to set up camp and stopped there for the night. Jacob found a stone to rest his head against and lay down to sleep. Oh, pillow was my bed last night, and rock was my pillow too. Gosh, I remember that Bob Marley song. Right here, Jacob rests his head against a stone. Jesus talked about this too, right? And the Son of Man doesn't even have a place to stay. Doesn't even have a stone to lay his head on. It says, as he slept, he dreamed of a stairway that reached from the earth up to heaven. Ooh, is this where Led Zeppelin gets Stairway to Heaven? Wow. I mean, how many of us growing up in my generation, Generation X, Led Zeppelin was like already kind of a pastime band. They already kind of had their moment. It was before our time. But they were like, it was like folklore, man. They were like amazing, and to hear, Stairway to Heaven, that little beginning, most of us can kind of, do it, right? Meaning in our head, we could kind of sing that melody. Well, here Jacob has a dream of a stairway that reached up to from the earth to heaven. So the stairway from earth to heaven. This is important because Jesus talked about himself being the stairway. That he is the one that is the bridge, the stairway, if you will, between heaven and the earth, between God and mankind. You can look it up. It's in the Gospels. And he saw the angels of God going down and up the stairway, messengers of God, going from here, going up there, coming down here. And at the top of the stairway stood the Lord. This is the Lord. And he said, I am the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham and the God of your father Isaac. The ground you are lying on belongs to you. I am giving it to you and to your descendants. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. They will spread out in all directions, to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And all the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. It's a reiteration of the promise given to Abraham, to Isaac, and now to Jacob. And it says, what's more, I am with you, and I will protect you wherever you go. One day I will bring you back into this land. I will not leave you until I have finished giving you everything I have promised you. promise from God. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, "Surely the Lord is in this place. I wasn't even aware of it." But he was also afraid and said, "What an awesome place this is. It is none other than the house of God, the very gateway to heaven." Bethel, the house of God. And very cool, right? Man, I had this dream. I had the stairway to heaven, man. Angels going down, up, down, up, down, up, down on the stairway. And God says, guess what, man? I'm giving a message to you. Now, the greatest message is the one of the Messiah. And that's what we're waiting for, right? Is this promised Messiah. And Jesus, again, talks about this and talks about him being the great messenger. He is the one that comes from above and comes down. And he's the one who's on the earth and is going to go back up. The Lord himself will travel from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven. Mind-boggling. And so Jacob realizes he's had a pretty radical spiritual experience. I don't know if you've ever had that moment where you've had a spiritual experience that's kind of radical. It's kind of hits you just like, man, that was special. I mean, that was a real special time, a special place, a special moment. And that was really neat. You know, you can't just relive those every day, right? You can't just live off of them in the past, too. You just got to remember them, be thankful for them, and, see what God's got for you, down the road. And it says, the next morning Jacob got up very early, and he took the stone he had rested his head against, and he set it upright as a memorial pillar. Then he poured olive oil over it. He named that place Bethel, the anointing of the rock. What an interesting idea, right? To anoint the rock. It's kind of interesting because we're going to find that the rock becomes a word that's used to describe God. God is our rock. Yahweh is our rock. Jesus is our rock. You're going to see that as well in the Bible. And that there's an anointing of the rock. Like you would anoint a king or you would anoint a priest for its service, right? A king's going to start his kingship, He's going to be anointed. There's going to be a great pouring of oil upon that king in the ceremony in front of everybody. And here Jacob does this. He pours oil on the rock. He knows, man, this is a special spot. And he says he names that place Bethel, which means house of God, although it was previously called Luz. Just so you know. Then Jacob made a vow, if God will indeed be with me and protect me on this journey, and if he will provide me with food and clothing, and if I return safely to my father's home, then the Lord will certainly be my God. And this memorial pillar I have set up will become a place of worshiping God, and I will present to God a tenth of everything he gives me. Hey, if God's going to protect me, that's the one I'm trusting. That's the one I'm given to. That's the one I'm going to follow. It kind of begs me to think, or makes me think, what God has given the greatest revelation? Is it Krishna? Is it Buddha? Is it Hindu God? Is it our gods? Is it the pagan gods? Thor and that crew? Is it Yahweh? What God has given the greatest revelation? Now, this is what it comes down to. That's the God I want to serve. The God who is intimately involved in our lives and who has shown himself. That is the one you should give your life to. Meaning if you're giving your life to something that is not, hasn't shown himself or herself or their selves, then are they even real? That's the big question. Now, it's not just a question I ask, but it's one that Yahweh asks in the book of Isaiah. Hey, you're following a lot of gods out there, people. What's the proof of those gods? That's what Yahweh asks in the time of Isaiah. It's a great question. See, the God of the Bible he doesn't shy away from proof, evidence of his existence. He actually demonstrates his existence through various things. One of them's predictive prophecy. One of them is the creation. One of them is actually coming to the planet and revealing himself. That's pretty radical. In a moment in history, doing things that are remarkable, if you will, doing something for us that we just can't do, saving us, redeeming us. Jesus is our Exodus. He is our deliverer. He is our atoning sacrifice. He is our Leviticus. He is the one that we are going to be judged by. Jesus is the one we will be judged by. Book of Numbers. He is the one we're accountable to. Right? Deuteronomy. He is our shepherd. Jesus is all that. He's revealed himself. He's come to fulfill. He's come to demonstrate. He who has seen me has seen the Father. Man, have I been with you so long and you do not even know yet? I've come to reveal the Father, to show you the Father. Man, that is the God you want to serve. So very cool, right? Makes sense. If you're going to serve the deity, you might want to make sure that the deity is actually real. That sounds good to me. Sounds right. And so, what's more reasonable than to look into the claims of the deity? To look into it. Have you read the Bible? Do you know the prophecies that are in the Bible? We were already reading a bunch of them. They're pretty cool, right? And hey, does it make sense to our world? Do we see that our world makes sense to what is written here? Is there a land of Israel, or is that not even real? Or is there these places? Or is this really historically accurate? Is the world a miracle? Is the universe a miracle? How did it come to exist? I mean, all those things, man, proof. I mean, it's great. A wonderful passage. Jacob is getting on the right track. He's having communion with God, and God's focusing him, telling him, man, you're going to go through trials. There's going to be difficulties, but I'm going to provide, and I'm going to get you back into this land. So just like with us, we're going to go through trials, but God's going to steer us back, get us back on the right path, get us to that promised land that we've been promised. So, okay, you guys have a great day. I like Genesis 28. It's pretty cool. It's a short one, but very cool. Very cool to think about. Again, look up some of these Bible passages, Jesus, the stairway, and read them. And you'll kind of get some more great insights. So take care, okay? Bye-bye.